Welcome in to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. I am your host, Josh Barnett, and we are brought to you by Holman Barnes Group, which includes West Ashfield Leagues, the best place to watch the games. That's both men and women back to back on Sunday afternoon. So, how good is this? The double header finally, the girls and the boys. So, you can watch them back to back West Ashfield Sunday afternoon. And if you can give us a follow on the socials, so on Instagram and Twitter at WestsLife Pod are our handles there, and our Linktree link is on those profile pages if you want to find any of our stuff, be it the podcast, the YouTube channel. Shouts to the people tuning in tonight on a Monday night, even though the Matildas are playing. I hope maybe some of you got it on in the background, like as and I have as well. So come on, girls. Come on, Matildas. Get over those bloody Canadians. But back to rugby league. Patreon.com/WestsLife. If you want to support and take part in the show. The Discord's been firing off a lot this week. A lot of discussion, West Tigers wise and non-West Tigers wise. But as how are you on this Monday evening? Big win. You headed out to Belmore on Sunday afternoon to watch the girls get another win. You're a lucky charm.
Yeah, g'day Josh, g'day viewers and listeners. Yeah, I've turned out to be a little bit sunburnt from the trip out to Belmore yesterday. Just the whole left side of my face and neck is red and a bit hot. So not complaining though, it was totally worth it. I got to see an amazing win, an amazing defensive effort. I got some photos with some of the girls who played, and one of the girls who didn't play, friend of the show, Tess Staines. So that was a whole lot of fun.
Yeah.
It was a nice little day out and great to watch the girls get a win. The boys, like you said, they showed some signs of improvement, but it does seem like the wooden spoon is ours for the taking. I've got the game on. Yeah, I've got the World Cup game on in the background. It's tough deciding what to watch.
Oh, we're just going to 2-0. We're just going to 2-0. So this will mean nothing.
I'm behind you, Josh. I'm behind. I watch on 7+.
Oh, sorry. That's think about the listeners who are listening to this on a Tuesday or Wednesday afternoon. They already
they probably will.
if they lose 3-2, we're going to look like absolute idiots. But yeah, the Sunday afternoon watching the girls, I would have been there. I was at the supercars at Eastern Creek yesterday. Took my almost 3-year-old son his debut watching some motor racing, which was pretty cool. Saw funny enough, Dylan Brown and Regan Campbell Gillard were there in their Parramatta Polos checking out the racing. They obviously had some sort of sponsorship, something with one of the teams, but perfect weather. Like it would have been a perfect day out there at Belmore on Sunday afternoon, but can't wait to see the girls in action. I think, when's their next Sydney game? In the Dolphins doubleheader, isn't it?
Yes, yep.
Yeah, so looking forward to that. But we'll start with the boys and the man in charge, Tim Sheen. So his press conference from the weekend. Where should we start? Let's start with a good old Sean Blaw. Let's see what Sheensy had to say about Sean, and who, of course, went off with a HIA in this game.
Blaw went off with a head concussion, come back on and got another one. So, yeah, it seems what can happen happens to us at the moment. And unfortunately, we're shooting ourselves in the foot too many times.
Yeah, he's not wrong, is he? Things just seem to. You can blame the footy gods, but it's just silly little decisions. As like Tupou, we end up scoring not that long after, but like Tupou obviously could have passed it straight inside to I think it was Papali'i inside him. It was a good break created by Brooksy onto Baller, I believe, making that break. But yeah, it's just the little things, isn't it? Like we took South, gave them a real battle. The scoreline doesn't really show it, but it's just those little 1%ers, isn't it? That's just letting them down.
Yeah, for sure. Just some of those decisions they made in regards to when to kick, when not to kick. Sheensy mentions it in his presser as well. But sometimes when they made a break down the sideline or whatever, and they decide to kick it, sometimes it's better to take the tackle and then get a quick play of the ball. Other times it's better if you've got someone on your inside to pass it to them. But yeah, just some of those footy IQ moments is where we seem to be lacking. And players like Appy and Clem, the longer those sort of guys are at our club, the more the more of an influence they'll have on the guys, and like teaching them those sort of moments. But a lot of those you should learn growing up. So I don't think I think there's a bit of an issue there, and I don't know, maybe it's a training thing. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, a couple of people, Jason's mentioned on the YouTube, how did the play not get sent for the hit on Blaw? I have no idea, man. I'm still angry about it. I don't understand it. It was a penalty for a shoulder charge to the head. Our guy goes off for a HIA, and there's no sin bin. Like, I thought it was cut and dry now. If it's shoulder charge to the head, then that's it. We've lost Az. Stay with me, Az. I can't do this solo without you. There he is. Are you there?
Yep, I think I've got some technical issues with my
Yeah.
Skype settings. So when you play your next audio clip, I'll leave and come back in.
Righto. Right, we'll play the next audio then. Here's Sheensy talking about Dane Laurie.
I hope not. He took a direct hit to the front of the knee with the other kid's knee. They both clashed, and he was the one reckons he's too skinny and went down. So I'm hoping it's just going to be a minor thing. But he was in a bit of discomfort, that's for sure. So it may well be a medial or something, or more PCL rather than maybe an ACL. That type of thing, when you get the knock on the front of the knee, can do that. So I'm hoping that's not the case.
Yeah, Dane Laurie obviously went off late in this game. We've had that many halves combinations in this season, across this season. As the Dane Laurie injury, no update from the club just yet. But man, it just seems to be a curse on our halves this year. Like, we just can't have. We've already had that many halves combinations because of injuries and a little bit because of Sheensy shuffle. But man, we just can't take a break, can we?
Yeah, poor Dane. He didn't look too good coming out of that one. Hopefully he's all right. But yeah, it just seems like there's going to be a bit more chop and change in the halves. We might end up going back to the Wakeham Brooks combination that we got for a little while. I'm pretty sure that was the combination we had when we beat the Cowboys at Leichhardt, and so there's a bit of potential there if they can get it right. The Raiders aren't in good form at the moment after a loss last week, so maybe it's a good chance for them to try and gel a little bit more together and potentially line up like that for the rest of the season. Will Smith is an option who could come back in. So there's a few options there, but obviously none of them are a first choice halves combo. So we'll just have to wait and see how it all ends up panning out.
Yeah. Ethan mentioned on YouTube, he said thoughts on 2 shoulder charges on Clemmer not getting called until after the game. Yeah, this is a weird one. So who was it got charged with 2 shoulder charges? Yeah, Koloamatangi got charged with 2 shoulder charges on Clemmer, and both of them weren't given as penalties. Like, this is unbelievable. Just South Sydney, just get the rub of the green all the time. It just gives me the shits. Like, obviously it wasn't refs. We're not going to refs' fault this game, but man, there were some calls that just, always seem to favour the red and green, and we can't have the red and green missing the top 8 this season. It would be an absolute tragedy to the league.
Yeah, like you add those two on top of the fact that Moale didn't get sent to the bin for his shoulder charge, and it just seems like those better calls are getting the 50-50s. Like, and that's not even a 50-50 to be fair. That's one that should be sent to the sin bin 100% of the time because it's direct, forceful, dangerous contact to the head. There was no wrapping of the arms by Moale at all. So that's about as blatant as you get. And he stays on the field. If the NRL and Annesley are claiming that there's no bias against the the weaker teams, they're fucking kidding themselves at the moment. That's
Absolutely.
kind of
Yeah,
where I stand on that.
100%. 100%. As here's Sheensy, a little bit more Sheensy from the presser.
As I've said all along, it's a 2 to 3 year plan, and when Benji gets the result of that and he works with that, I think we'll be a much better side, obviously. So it's ongoing recruitment and development, and keep our heads down and stay the course. As I've said to everyone in the club, stay the course. If you think you're going to go from last year to first this year, you're kidding yourself. But, you know, if we do finish with the wooden spoon again, I'll be disappointed. But again, I think we're playing better footy than we've seen last year. I think there's green shoots coming through there with the young guys. Our Whenua, who scored tonight, young fullback Jareem, Tupu, they're all flag age playing first grade. So there's another half a dozen guys in the time that haven't played with us last year. So yeah, we've got some work to do to put it all together. Because you started late too with the coming back from World Cup and everything. So we didn't have a great pre-season. I'm not saying just us. Every club had a bit of that. So yeah, we've got some work to do. But I'm really happy with the effort. But it's just not the execution. And regularly, that's how it happens. They have a go, and the scores are close, and then execution fails, and you get beat, or you lose a game. I won't say get beat. There's two differences between losing a game and getting beat. We've been beat a couple of times this year, but most times, if we've lost, we're in the game chasing and beating the game for big minutes.
Thanks, Coach.
Right?
A big one there from Sheensy, but this 2-3 year plan to give me the shits. But do you think the excuses thrown out by Sheens there, like Souths, in my opinion, when healthy, and they pretty much were healthy. I don't think, were they missing? Who were they missing over the weekend? They seem to be pretty much full strength, and we gave them a pretty good fight, and we do have our fair share of guys out at the moment. I don't know, how's your positivity looking into next season? Like, do you feel like there's something there with this team? It's a bit. There's a few guys in there that won't be there next year, and a few new guys coming in. But he has got a point there. Obviously, Junior Tupou turned 21 on Sunday, I believe, and Whenua Pole and Dream Buller are all 21 as well. So he is right. They could be playing Jersey Flag this year. So, look, the record aside, is there something there?
Yeah, the only thing he said there that I'm in that last little clip that I'm not particularly fond of was the part where he basically threw some of our signings from this year under the bus. I think there's a lot of potential there moving forward. There are definitely a lot of green shoots. Like we've got the development of some of those guys, Jareem, Tupou, Blaw, even Matamu has been developing in reserve grade. We've got De Silva as well. The Fainu brothers who've signed with us, there's a lot of potential there. So there's definitely a lot of green shoots, but it's all going to take a bit of time to grow and develop and gel. So I'm not expecting big things next year. Maybe 2025 we might start to see the fruits of the labours. But in saying that, we do have players there like Bateman, like Clemmer, like Appy, who's Captain Courageous at the moment, who are basically leading this side and are the experience that the side needs. So there should still be a lot of potential there. We should still be able to push for top 8. We've got to be competitive, which we have been a lot more this year than we were last year. I think our for and against, even though it's now in the minus 200s, it was less than minus 100 until we got absolutely
Cowboys.
by the Cowboys. And for that to be the case, when it's not normally the case, shows the closeness of the competition. We were right up there with a lot of teams in a lot of the games we played. So there was a lot more competitiveness in the team this year than last year. Yeah, but it just doesn't seem to have gelled. The main issue we've had this year has been the attack inside the 20-meter line. And that's what's been hurting us. If they can get that better with the new signings, including whoever our new halves end up being, because there's still a little bit of, I guess, lack of clarity around that that area
Yep.
next year, because obviously there's still no Adam. Brooksy's gone, and so much more.
We'll probably know
there.
a little bit more about that in the next week because, we heard today that Jaden Sullivan is apparently signing a 3-year deal, apparently, with the Wests Tigers. So we'll see how that goes. And then the Caesar deal looks like it'll get done as well. But who knows? It's the Wests Tigers, and until it's official, it's official. So, yeah, we'll see. One last clip of Sheensy talking about Tamworth.
Yeah, we got a great result and reaction yesterday from people here, meet and greet. People have turned up, full house, give us plenty of support. So I'm hoping to be back next year with the boys. So, at the end of the day, though, you've still got some work to do. So.
Yeah, the whole Tamworth thing. I went to the first one. I think I mentioned this on Wednesday's show. In what year would that have been? 2018. The first time we went to Tamworth pre-COVID against. I think it was 2018 against the Knights.
Knights, yeah.
I think Ivan Cleary is still coach because I got a photo with Ivan Cleary that night, and Corey Thompson, who's taller than me. Funny enough, but yeah, the Tamworth thing. I'm happy for the club to go there once a year, but please next year. I know this year's draw has been affected by the Women's World Cup, so who knows that this time of year they had to play South or whatever. I don't know what the club gets to choose and what the league gets to choose. Obviously, the league gets to choose the timing of the weekend, so the 6 p.m. Friday. Also stupid, but that's not on the club. But playing against Souths, like, man, if we played this at ANZ, at say Leichhardt or Campbelltown, you're probably getting, even in the form the Tigers are in, we're probably getting 15,000 plus. Like, you're getting probably a packed crowd for this at Leichhardt, especially Leichhardt against South, because geographically a little bit closer to the South fan base. It's just any Sydney rival. It shouldn't be like it was. We play. Who else would we play there? The Sharks. It's been the Sharks, the Knights,
and the Titans.
The Titans. Fine. Small fan bases. Play them out there. That's fine. And the crowd, like, someone DM'd us that was at the game. They said the crowd was basically 80% South, and you could tell that on the TV. Like, it looked predominantly a South crowd. So
my brother was there too, and he said the same thing.
Yeah, the Wests Tigers were bragging about selling it out. Yeah, it was fucking full of opposition fans. So, but good on Tamworth. I'm happy for Tamworth to get it next year. But just, yeah, play some pleb team, not the pride of the league, as those wankers like to call themselves. I hate that franchise. But one place that I do love, and that is West Ashfield. So you can watch, like I said at the start of the show, both the men's and the women's are playing back-to-back on Sunday. So you can watch both games. The Wests Tigers are playing the Raiders in both, and you can watch it on the big screen at West Ashfield. They're doing the half-price pizza and $4.80 tap beers for a limited time during those games, I believe until halftime. So from kickoff to halftime, $4.80 beers, half-price pizza, really good pizzas too at the Garden Restaurant there. They're absolutely fantastic. You don't want to miss out on all the action from the home of the Wests Tigers, West Ashfield, Holman Barnes Group, bringing people together. And for more information, visit holmanbarnesgroup.com.au. So hopefully, yeah, obviously if you're not traveling down to Canberra to watch the boys and the girls play,
or just the girls,
or just the girls, and then walk out. Yeah. So in the news, I had this. I've mentioned this kind of already. The meeting, Jaden Sullivan met with Pascoe and Scott Fulton and others at Concord on Friday. Obviously, the team were up in Tamworth. So, I believe Benji and Sheensy Skyped. Not Skype. What's it called? Zoom. No one Skypes anymore. They zoomed in. Say good day. And yeah, like I said, Jaden Sullivan, apparently, we've heard whispers that he's going to sign a 3-year deal. So what are your thoughts? If this pans out to be true. As what are your thoughts on him? I know you don't like his cheekiness. He's a little bit of a grub, but I think once he does that on our side in the black, orange, and white, maybe you'll come around, just like we did with Josh Reynolds when he actually played for us.
Well, we didn't actually see all that much of that from Josh Reynolds, I don't think. So I wasn't complaining about that side of Josh too much after he signed because he didn't really show it. But there are those sort of gamesmanship things I'm not too much of a fan of. I know there's nothing against him in the rules, but other than like fans considering it to be diving or whatever. But yeah, I mean, he's definitely got some talent. I don't know if he'd be the right fit for the club, but we can't really be picky at the moment. If we get him and Caesar, then we've got a combination there that includes experience in Caesar and youth and talent potential in Sullivan. So I feel like there's some potential for that halves combination if that ends up being the one we have next year to develop and hopefully do some good things for us. But yeah, if he signs for us and plays for us, I'm obviously not going to complain too much. But there may be some aspects of his game I'm like, yeah, not too keen on that. But I don't know. If we win, I can't complain too much, can I?
Yeah, a few people were saying they're worried about his defense, but I mean, Benji Marshall, like I said in the previous show, he wasn't all that great in defense. So I don't know. Maybe they'll work it out somehow. We're just struggling to score points. If he helps us score points, that's better than what we got. So yeah, obviously it remains to be seen, but I'll be slightly excited. It's obviously not a superstar. But he's still young. Who knows? Who knows? We're going to have a still pretty young team next year, but yeah, with a full preseason together, maybe it'll click. So we'll see. Righto, talking about my guy Sean Blaw again. So a couple of people, someone dropped in our Discord today, and a couple of people sent through a link that he's been linked with Hull FC, or not linked with. It says the headline says linked with, but it's probably just Hull FC showing interest. It's always weird that link sort of because teams are looking for players all the time and probably speaking to managers. And my guy Sean Blaw, apparently Hull FC, looking at him. I mean, he's still pretty young. He moving to the UK, yeah, might be a little bit tempting for him. But I also heard from listened to the Triple M, what's it called, the Monday Arvo something or other podcast with Brent Reed on it, and he said the Melbourne Storm is actually interested in Sean Blaw, but he said that the Wests Tigers have said no. So it's pretty much he's contracted for next year, and the Wests Tigers are at the very least saying no, he's ours. So they've kind of changed their tune a little bit. I think there was a little bit of a divided opinion within the club about Sean, but yeah, definitely he's come out and said in the media that Benji and Sheensy are backing him, and fingers crossed they pull their finger out and extend him beyond next year.
Yeah, to me it seems like one of those, I guess, nothing stories or like it's a manager maybe trying to drum up a little bit of extra money to the salary.
Sure.
Because like you said, he came out, what was that? Not even 2 months ago, when the rumors first came out, and then he said himself that he went and spoke to Benji, and Benji assured him that that he sees him as part of the future of the club. So I feel like it's just the manager trying to drum up the salary, get him a little bit of extra cash in his pocket, which you can't blame him. That's kind of their job. But
yeah, part of me thinks it's a good thing that it's just a little bit of maybe not even just cash. It's just like, come on, Wests Tigers. Like, he wants to stay loyal. Like, come on, put a contract under his nose. Do something.
To get them to hurry up.
Maybe they have. Who knows? Maybe they have. And yeah, he's looking at it now. I actually have no idea, but fingers crossed they have. If they haven't, then
because the recontracting window opens up. Well, for contracted players can start negotiating come November 1st.
November 1. Yeah.
So that's still 3 months away.
Don't let that happen. Don't let it get to November 1. Jesus Christ.
Don't let it get there. Lock him up before the 3 months is over. Him and Tupou.
Yeah.
And then lock Buller down for longer as well while they're at it.
Speaking of management, I just thought a cool little clip from the so Ben Teo, former West Tiger. Do you remember Ben Teo playing for the Tigers as 2008,
No.
2009? Yeah, before he went off to the Broncos, he started a podcast with Ryan Girdler. I don't know why, because I don't know how they'll be mates, because they're age-wise they're very different. One's Queensland, one's New South Wales. A very odd combination. But anyway, the podcast is called The Medicine, and last week they talked a little bit about the Tigers. So here's Ben Teo and Ryan Girdler talking about the Wests Tigers at the moment.
Maybe they knew that there was going to be pushback from Tim Sheens and Benji Marshall, and they thought that instead of going through that pushback and dealing with all that, we're just going to pull the trigger on it because they think he's the right guy. Now, he might be the right guy. That's all I'm saying. I think he's highly rated in his work. He's just landed the two young brothers, the Fainu brothers.
He's obviously talking about Scott Fulton. Yeah.
That's a big get. He's got connections through all that Manly system and all the way out west with Blacktown where they've been set up. He might be the right guy that can help them land some players because we haven't really seen some like they've been landing older guys.
I thought there was more to that. 1 second.
Maybe they knew that they...
No. I've put the wrong clip in there, but he does talk about how the club is basically laughable at the moment, and basically Scott Fulton and Benji Marshall basically got to smoke the peace pipe and start working together as well. He also has a pretty funny little dig at Lee Hajipintellis. He goes, every time he comes on the TV with his hat, I feel like he needs a cigar. Like, why can't he just go on TV and wear a normal suit? So he has a little bit of a gaff there as well. But yeah, check out the the Medicine. So that was in episode 2 called Wrestling the Bear. So shouts to Ben Teo, former West Tiger. Speaking of Justin Pascoe, he went to jail last week, as.
Oh?
Yeah, he look, not as a criminal, as they visited a prison on the North Coast and did a little program, and Stafford Toa, Appy Coruscant and Steph FaceTimed in from the Zurich Centre. They did a little program there. I thought it was a good little news story to come out of the club. They were apparently some new start program. Handed out a few training shirts and that sort of thing. So helping out at the I just wanted to make that Justin Pascoe joke. I'm not going to lie. But, they caught you off guard.
You did. You got me a little excited there.
Righto, back to the game.
That'd be one way to make sure he no longer has a job at the club.
Imagine, oh man, if that actually happened, I think Mr. Bashara would be straight back on the show to talk about that one. Right, back to this game, 32-18 to the Rabbitohs. Tries on their side. So Alex Johnson got a hat trick. That guy just the easiest job in the world. I don't care what anyone says. I think most of his tries he just catches and falls over. He is quite a good finisher, but man, he just seems to always just have 10 meters of space in front of him, and then when you play against the West Tigers, it ends up being 20 meters of space with our edge defense. But hat trick to him. Tass and Colin Matangi scored as well, and Cam Murray consolation one towards the end. So as it was 26 at halftime, ended up being a 14-point margin at the finish. So the second half, much closer. I hated that last try, kind of making it 13 plus. It just didn't seem like the Rabbitohs did really put a stranglehold at the end there. They had like 4 back-to-back sets, and we kept trying short dropouts, and we can never get them to fucking work for whatever reason. We kept kicking it the same way as well. The one that Appy did the other week, when he did it straight up in the middle, that seemed to work much better. I don't know why are we kicking it out to their center and winger? But anyway,
What about that really tall winger we have that we don't seem to kick it to?
yeah, and we go to the shorter.
Center. He was a center this week, but he's normally a winger.
Yeah. Put Junior. Well, Dream Buller, the guy that wanted to pursue a career in basketball, maybe have him out there under the ball. I don't know. I don't know. Give me a call, Shanzy. We'll I'll give you some tips. But
maybe they need to watch how some of the other clubs are pulling them off, because I've noticed the Warriors, the Cowboys, a few other teams really nail those short dropouts more often than they fail them. So there are ways that seems to make them work. You've just got to have the right people in the right places and get the kicks right.
The tries themselves from the Rabbitohs, the Johnston one out left, there was one where Notha shot up and basically on tough just bounced off him like he was a child playing against his dad. That was pretty embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything else in this game, before we go celebrate the women's game?
Just that the first try, I think, was really unfortunate. Obviously Bateman had his back to the defensive line, so he didn't see where Johnston was lining up ready to pickpocket that ball, and he just ended up batting it straight to him. And I thought that was really unfortunate. I don't know why the app says it happened in the first minute, because it was like the third or fourth minute, because we had like a set or two prior to that actually happening. But yeah, and I think that kind of just set us up for a little bit of a fight back sort of game, which we seem to almost always have. I was quite impressed that the team fought back to 20-18. 6. We were looking pretty good there for a while with those tries to Ice and Polly.
Polly's try was fantastic. That was a great try.
But yeah, then we let two soft ones through, Johnston and Murray, to late in the game for them to kind of just run away with it a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like, I agree with you. That last try, they were kind of gassed a little bit. We didn't deserve a 13+ scoreline. I think we were definitely, especially with the showing in the second half, we were definitely a 1-12 losing side. So yeah, that was a little bit unfortunate. But the boys for trying, like I said, they just need to try and work out some other way to deal with those short dropouts, because what we're doing at the moment isn't working, and we're just ball.
Yeah, maybe an NFL style, what do you call it, onside kick. So in the NFL, what they do, a little bit harder because they kick it off the ground, but basically they do like a grubber kick and hope the ball kicks up like off a grubber, and then they kind of try and knock it back that way. But NFL is a bit different, obviously.
That actually sort of worked over the weekend. Did you watch any of the NRL this weekend, or you probably didn't? Bits and pieces,
yeah.
Okay, if you get a chance, go check out some, I guess, maybe highlight clips of the Raiders versus Roosters game. There were a few dropouts, particularly in the second half, where they actually did try something like that. And a lot of the time it actually worked. Obviously, they've got to wait till it crosses the 10-meter line. But if they can get there and pounce on it, then they get it back. And I think the Raiders, it might have been, or the Roosters, I can't remember which team it was, but they did try it one or two times and they actually got it back. I think one time it failed because it was picked up before it crossed the plane. But yeah, other than that, it wasn't that bad of a system. It seemed to be working fairly well.
How close to the sideline was it? Because if the ball is close to the sideline, it's a bit of that uncertainty as well. If you can kind of get accurate enough that you can land at kind of the 10-meter corner, and if you're risking a penalty, like we got a penalty for kicking it, it didn't go 10, but it didn't matter because they were never going to go for 2 anyway. So it was kind of same result anyway. So I don't know, maybe stabbing it. Who was it that kicked it and it perfectly landed on basically that corner and went out? It was Wakeham, wasn't it, this year? So
yeah, that was Wakeham. I think that was Magic Round.
A lot of people screaming at me saying just kick it long, but I don't know. But after the third set, I felt like we had to get the ball back or Rabbitohs were going to score. Like it was was a double-edged sword. You kick it long and back your defense, but they would have been so gassed. I think the Rabbitohs score anyway. I think we just needed to get the ball back. Like if
When you've got 10 minutes left and you're down by 8 points, I don't blame
Yeah.
you for going for the short one at that point. But yeah, when you're behind by 8, 14 points, whatever, and it's still the first half, you probably don't need to try the short one. You can probably just go long, back your defense, and then make sure you get the ball back at the end of the set. And if it keeps happening, then try the short one. But yeah, it just seems like there's timing for it, and they're not really getting that timing. As for the position of one of those kicks, one of those Raiders Roosters ones for the girls, it actually was like basically midfield. It was literally just a little dribbler that was dived on right on the 10-meter line.
Yeah, that's basically how they've tried in the NFL. A few statistics. So Rabbitohs 56 to 44 percentage. I imagine the first half was probably even higher than that. The second half seemed like we pulled that back a little bit. Completion rates look not great from us. 25 to 36. Giving the ball over way too many times. Rabbitohs 36 to 45. So they weren't exactly clinical either. But yeah, 69%. Not going to get it done. So any other stats there? Post-contact meters, they're about, what are they, about 80 in front of us. Their line breaks pretty much even. Tackle breaks pretty close. It did say, I feel like the Rabbitohs a little bit had the arm wrestle over us, but forced dropouts 4-0. Obviously, we're talking about 3 in a row. Offloads pretty much bang on the same. So, yeah, statistically, not really that much difference. Errors 12 to 9, penalties 6-3 to the Rabbitohs, and 6 against 3-2. So yeah, that hurts as well, as we can't keep giving those away.
Yeah, for sure. Too many errors, too many penalties, just discipline. It needs to be fixed up. But in saying that, the Rabbits got away with doing a lot of things that we couldn't get away with doing. A lot of players like Latrell Mitchell, Alex Johnson, Cody Walker, even Damien Cook at times were getting away with things that we wouldn't be allowed to do in our dizziest daydreams. So
Yeah,
there just seems to be a little bit of a, in my opinion, a little bit of a bias there towards the better teams. But
definitely.
we're going to have to become one of the better teams to actually get some of those calls going our way.
Yeah. Leading tacklers, so Appy Coruscant had 45, Nopole 34, Johnny Bateman 31, and Papa and Alex Twal had 30 apiece. Other stats leaders, I didn't update that from the NRL. I was trying to do stats last night, and the NRL didn't have their play stats up, so I wasn't able to get them up. But table wise, is there any point looking at the table? Probably not. But the 4 points behind the Dragons.
Yeah,
still,
we need a miracle not come last.
Yeah, you said it. You said it as. One place that can perform miracles is our friends at Mobile Corp. Hope so, Stephen. I've just put the pressure on you guys a little bit.
You're getting good with these segues. I'll give you
the
that.
segues, yeah. They support local businesses by managing their IT, their networks, and their mobile devices. If you're a local business owner looking for a partner who will take away the hassle of dealing with IT issues, make sure you have cybersecurity in place. Handle all your mobile needs. The Mobile Corp can help. Mobile Corp is a family-run business and long-time supporter of the Wests Tigers. Reach out to our mate Stephen and the team at Mobile Corp. Check out mobilecorp.com.au. That's mobilecorp.com.au. Righto. New South Wales Cup. They got carved up on Sunday afternoon, 36 to 18. I didn't see this one. Well, obviously, does it have a crowd figure there? No, I don't know how many people were at Lidcombe for that one. I think most of us were watching the women's game at the same time, be it at TV or at Belmore. Itself, they're in 10th place now, the Cup team, so kind of falling out of contention there. Jersey Flegg, at least those boys, they carved up 56 to 14 at Lidcombe Oval, so big win, scoring at 10 meat pies over the Bunnies there. Talon the Silver, he got 1, two tries himself. So good to see the young kid, getting some minutes in the flag team. Someone actually mentioned, I think it's a Patreon question later on, but I might as well talk about it now. They said, do we throw our flag first graders down to kind of help the flag team? So imagine throwing Buller, Pole, and Junior in this side. They're ninth at the moment, so 2 points off fifth. So I don't know. It'd be pretty funny to. Are you allowed to do that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you are during the season, but they have to have played a minimum number of games to be eligible
To
for
play
the finals. Yeah, so we could do that, but
they can't play finals.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to play finals because I think they need to play like 5 games or something, and there's only 4 rounds left.
Yeah. Player ratings time for the. I completely forgot to put the women's. We'll do women's first. As I don't know why I haven't got the women's score. Then, yeah. Give me your thoughts on the women games. Obviously, 10-0 over the Sharkies on Sunday afternoon. How would you summarise that game?
It was a pretty good game, actually, despite the fact that it wasn't particularly high scoring. It obviously wasn't the attacking masterclass we saw in round 1, but I don't think it needed to be, because there's definitely still going to be some issues with connectivity and cohesiveness for the girls, since they're still growing and building those combinations and building the team camaraderie as a whole. But their commitment to defense, their commitment to ensuring that the Sharks didn't cross our try line after they beat us 22-0 in the trial, I think shouldn't be understated. They were very, very impressive. Some of the solo efforts and team efforts, like Jakaya Whitfield really early in the game, holding up the other winger after a crossfield kick from their half in the in goal on the last, Emily's cover tackle in the second half as the Sharks made a break down the sideline right in front of me.
And she went off injured after that one too, didn't she? For a HIA.
Yeah, she went off for a HIA, which she thankfully passed before the game was over. So, yeah, just there was a lot of effort there, a lot of commitment. Like for Emily there, the lack of self-preservation, like she just went into that and said, "You are not getting past me." And I mean, like Bo was right there as well Bo was right there to back her up if Emily needed her, but Emily didn't need her. She just took her down, and that was the end of that one. But yeah, we made a few errors. We weren't as well. We didn't attack as well as we did in the second half in the first round. But hey, we're top of the table still, and no one can take that off us, at least for another week. So go the girls.
Absolutely. Who do the Titans play this week? Because we're tied with the Titans. But Titans are the only other undefeated team, aren't they?
Yeah, the Sharks play the Titans at PointsBet this weekend.
Okay, so we kind of want the Sharkies to win, bounce back and win this week.
Exactly.
I guess
go top of the table, undefeated, if we can beat the Raiders and outright first.
Jakaya Whitfield, she broke the record for most run meters in an NRLW game, 292. That's insane.
Yeah, she was absolutely on fire. And I commented on someone on Twitter who mentioned that, who was like doing a little bit of a play-by-play there for the tries, and I said, "Holy moly, she is fast. She's got speed to burn." That she was really, really good. A lot of her breaks came right in front of me. That try was basically right in front of me as well. That run, it was almost a 100-meter run in the end there. So yeah, Jakaya, absolute monstrous game. Well deserved record there for her now. And she's second top of the NRLW try scorers as well, with only Tegan Berry from the Dragons having more than her, with 4 tries in 2 games to Jakaya's 3.
Any other players that would stand out for you? Obviously Vetty Walsh, she was just a masterclass again. Lasana Lutu, I'm a big fan of her. She only got 22 minutes. I don't understand why. She just seems like the attack just seems to go up a level when she comes on. She's just skillful, athletic. Yeah, the game. I don't know. Am I seeing things? But I think, yeah, she's a bit of that X factor.
Yeah, she was quite good. I do like what she brings to the team. I think part of the issue might have been after Emily was taken off for the HIA, we then had 2 sixes out there, and that doesn't really work because Pauline and Lutu both, I think, have similar games, but they go about them in a bit of a different way. So yeah, when you've got the 2 sixes out there, it's not going to click as well as it would when you've got a 7 and a 6. But yeah, she added a lot of X factor to the team. It was a bit of a shame she didn't get her first NRLW try because poor Bo didn't see her coming up on the inside. Maybe that was
yeah,
a lack of communication there in the second half, or maybe they just don't have like a code word or something, or
yeah,
yeah,
code word. Just
need to gel a bit more.
Yeah, maybe just gonna scream, but like screaming out. Yeah,
Bo, give it to
it's
me.
crazy. You look left, look right. That's just basic footy. But we'll forgive Bo. We yeah,
She's our
really
inaugural
making a
try
mistake.
scorer. We have to forgive her.
She's West Tigers through and through. We love you, Bo, and all the girls. Keep it going. On Sunday, and we'll preview that game on Wednesday night's show. Righto, back to the blokes player rating times. Time. Do you want to go through the player ratings as?
Yeah, no worries. So, Jareen Buller 6.2, David Nofaluma 2.7, Stafford Toa 4.9, Junior Tupou 2.2, Charlie Staines 3.8, Dane Laurie 4.7, and Luke Brooks 6.0. In the forwards, Stefano 6.6, Appy top scored with 8.8, David Clemmer 5.5, Isaiah Papali'i 7.0, John Bateman 5.1, and Fanua Pole 7.0. As for the bench boys, Will Smith 2.1, Sean Blaw 5.7, Alex Twile 6.8, and Atasi James 6.0.
Yeah, some numbers. Look, when it's a loss, the numbers always get pulled down. If it's a win, the rare occasion we do win, the numbers inflate a little bit. I think Brooksy is 6.0. Look, I think maybe closer to a 7, but I don't think Brooksy did really anything that wrong. For his first game back, I think that's a little bit harsh. I think he was half decent. What do you reckon, Az?
Yeah, I agree. For a first game back, Brooks was quite solid. I actually saw a lot to like from Brooksy. I think he's probably been marked down a little bit for that penalty kick for touch that almost went backwards.
Yeah, not good. But I don't know how that happens.
The other, I think he just kind of shanked.
Actually, I do. I've definitely done that playing rugby, kicking for touch or not found touch. I've done, but I'm not on. I was never paid anything, let alone $1 million to play footy. So, yeah.
I think another player who's been marked a bit too low is Junior Tupou. I actually liked his game as a centre. He's obviously been marked down a little bit for some of those poor decisions, but he actually was quite strong. Like strong runs off of that break that Brooksy gave him. He just made the wrong decision at the end of it. But he's young. He's gonna need to learn from that, and I'm sure he will. But yeah, I think he's been marked a bit low. I probably would give him a 5, maybe a 6. So fairly above the average there. As for the forwards, I think that's pretty fair for most of them. Clemmer maybe a little bit low as well. He could have been up about the 7 as well. John Bateman was probably one of his weaker games for the club, and he was the one kind of responsible for that intercept try at the very start of the game. So he's probably been marked down a bit for that too.
The girls gone 3-0 in the soccer. Go you good things. Yeah, Buller 6.2. Yeah, he was. Yeah, I guess that's about right. Junior Tupou 2.2. That can't be right. That number might be a little bit wrong. Is there anyone else? Dane Laurie 4.7. Maybe a little bit harsh. Has?
Yes and no. I'd say maybe about a 5, 5.5, 6 for Dane. He wasn't setting the world on fire, but I mean, he did get injured, and that kind of took away from his ability to perform late in the game. So that's a tricky one for me. Appy, I wanted to give Appy probably like a 15 out of 10. But he was the one who kept doing the short dropouts that weren't working, so I marked him down to a 12.
Junior Super was actually a 6, not a 2.2.
Okay, that sounds a lot more reasonable.
Yeah, I've got to update that one. Appy, 8.8 for Appy. He was, it's close to a 10. You can't really give a 10 in a loss, can you? But he was absolutely, he's just incredible. Obviously, he scored that try. He's just a magnet for the ball. He's the first person to ever come to the club that seems to get a good bounce from a grubber kick.
Like a lizard to pounce on those ears. He's just got that energy and that commitment that we need from the rest of the team. He led them around really well. Some really good decisions at dummy half too. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out a lot of the time. We didn't get the penalties or the 6 against that we deserved for some of his good decisions. But yeah, I still really liked his game. He was very, very strong. But like I said, he was the one making those short dropout attempts, and they just weren't working. And as the captain, he probably could have made the decision himself to say, "Okay, I'm just going to yeet it downfield," and he didn't.
Yeah,
really
fair
make that
point.
decision. So that's a bit of a shame.
Yeah, it's a fair point. Fanua Pole had a good game. Obviously, scored great tries with the 7 there. Probably he likewise. Johnny Bateman only 5.1. He just seemed a little bit little against the South forwards in this one. They overpowered him a fair bit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sean Blaw 5.7. Look, I think that would have been a little bit higher had he stayed on the field. It's a bit harsh, but
2 HIAs. It's a bit unfortunate that.
Yeah.
I actually didn't notice he go off for the first one. I think it was all I knew about it was when Hooper said after halftime that he had failed, but then we saw him out on the field. And it was all very confusing.
We were talking about in the Discord, like, oh, Blaw's gone. And then literally a second later, Blaw takes a hit up. So Hooper got some bad mail there. But
Then he got sent off for another HIA, and it was very, very annoying.
Yeah. Here are some of your best comments. So if you keep an eye on our Twitter and our Facebook post game, if you want to leave your ratings and your comments here. So here are some of the best ones from this week. Ben Angus said, second 40 was great. Problem is we again allowed a lead to grow in the first 40. Souths were ripe to be picked apart, and we failed to make the most of our opportunities. Buller was again strong. Tubo good at centre. Blaw impressive before the BS HIA call. 8 losses in a row is very deflating, but we never got belted, which I guess is a good sign. Smith is not it for the bench. De Silva, surely, or Matamua, please. 5 more weeks of pain. Go the women. Stuart Sampson, after getting back in the game, 2 avoidable penalties from Laurie. Blaw's second HIA in that line break lost us hard-fought momentum. Ultimately, we lack game-winning halves and strike players. Cora's there, but November signings are crucial if we're going to have a good 2024 season. David Nikotra, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. Good fight tonight, but Brooks kicking it backwards off a penalty sums up our season. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. A free opportunity to go forward and we went backwards. Our forwards were great tonight. Laurie looks great at 5'8". Too bad he's gone. Just not enough strike in our team. Well, maybe Pascoe can have a run since he's so untouchable. Maybe he can score a few points for us, or maybe Don Lee can orchestrate a win for us since he is our supreme leader. Sarcasm overload. Tomo said, tell Sheens to retire in England's countryside and take Star and Noth with him. That would make wonderful tits on a ball. Great work, men. I write this with tickets to Tigers to beat Canberra next week. F my life. Hey, the girls might give you something to cheer about. I don't know. I reckon the boys actually might be a chance against the Raiders next week. Call me crazy. Stafford Toa, bit harsh. I think Stafford, I don't know, people starting to turn on Stafford. I think he was all right.
Yeah,
he made that good break as well. I mean, obviously letting in the tries down his side. Yeah, I guess what you're saying.
I mean, he comes in a little bit, and then Noffa comes in even further. And that kind of leads to those awful line breaks. But as for Star, I think overall maybe that's a little bit harsh. He has been quite good. He obviously had one brilliant game against the Cowboys at Leichhardt, but we can't take too much out of that. I think he needs a little bit more time and development in whatever position he ends up playing, because I don't think he's played all that much as a centre. He's kind of been shifted around most backline positions, as have most of our backlines. So if he gets a bit more consistent time, works on his game in the off season, I think he could be a decent, potentially a backup centre option if we can manage to find a better one. I still think Naden is probably the best centre we have at the club, and I don't know why we haven't seen him in the team. I don't know if he played reserve grade last week or if he was left right out, but yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. Let me just check that. It's a weird one. I don't understand why Naden isn't getting picked. Like, can you see Noffa getting dropped? Do you think Noffa's played his last West Tigers game, maybe? Or he's technically under contract, but I don't know.
It's quite possible. I haven't seen enough from him, I don't think, to warrant more games, but who else do we have waiting in the wings? Do we bring someone up from reserve grade who might offer a little bit, but we're basically throwing them in the furnace at this point of the season when we're almost guaranteed the spoon? It's one of those catch-22 things. You want to give them the exposure, but you don't want them to be a part of what is another shit season.
Naden didn't play cup, so he's injured. Okay. Kai Cochran said, Appy and Buller are so fucking good. We just need to build the backline next year. I know it sounds stupid, but I believe, I think we can be like, it's all to do where this treasure, what do they call it? The not the treasure chest. What do they call it? When they have
war chest.
The war chest. That's what I was looking for. Ray said, worried about Clem and Bateman. Yeah, I don't know. I think another priest, like, they're getting on a little bit in age, but I think another priest. Obviously, Bateman came in late this year, a bit more gelling and that sort of thing. I think, I'm not giving up on him. Bobby Young said, competed okay against a team full of first graders. We only have a handful of those. Fair call. The Souths are a great team, man. They if they don't make the grand final, they should be disappointed. I don't know how they're going to be under the salary cap next year, but that's an argument for another day.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to think that going into that game against us, the Rabbits were in ninth. Like they were out of the top 8, and
a lot of injuries
to get back into it. Yeah, but they've had a lot of injuries this season. Obviously, Latrell being out for so long affected them, but with him back now, they can potentially make a bit of a run, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they make it back into the top 4, because they really are a top 4 team.
Patreon to finish. Let's see what the guys and girls have for us this week. If you want to support and take part in the show and join our Discord, patreon.com/WestsLife. You can become an Alex Twal tier member or an Adam Dway tier member. Or a Benji Marshall tier member. There's something for everyone in there, so check it out. What have we got? Ben Ellis. So I mentioned this earlier in the show. So he said, should we move all our flag eligible players to flag to try and make the finals and build on future combinations? We mentioned that already. Tiger 24/7, 1 to 17 of Simpsons characters if they were NRL players. Look, we'll save that for the off season when we've got less to talk about. But that'll
take a lot of thinking.
Yeah, I mean, Nelson showed that he's a pretty good runner of the football, so you got to put him probably in the back row, I guess. Anyone else off the top of my head? Hank Scorpio.
Sheensy's Homer cutting everyone.
Hank Scorpio's CEO of the team. And a little bit of a comment from our old friend Rob Bashara. So he said, I watched both men's and women's games. For the women, what a pleasure it was to see our girls play with a style, purpose, and commitment. that honours our jersey. Our defence forces Cronulla into so many poor kicks, and we're relentless all game. Congrats to Whitfield for breaking the NRL run meter record. Kezi Apps looks injury-free and reinvigorated as a Tiger and was wound back the clock to a damaging running best. How old is Kezi Apps as?
I'll check while you keep reading it,
Hmm.
but I'm pretty sure she's early 30s.
Yeah, right. I didn't think she was that old. Shout out to the whole team on their defense, and highlights for me were Whitfield. Highlights for me were Whitfield holding up her opponent for no tries. We mentioned earlier. How do I mention that name?
Tafanga.
Tafanga.
Yep.
Tafanga's multiple brutal tackles, one of which led to our second try, and Emily Curtin's cover tag. He's written a whole essay here. Cover tackle in the second half. You could just come on the show and say it, Rob. Emily Curtin's cover tackle in the second half, no fear of preservation. 3 points to Whitfield, 2 to Apps, 1 to Tafanga. Now on to the men. Another disappointing loss. Consolation efforts aren't good enough. Souths were awful first half, yet somehow led 20-6 at halftime. We turned momentum in our favour second half, but failed to capitalise on our chances and seized control of the game. Tupu butchering a 3-1 makes me wonder what our players are being taught and how often do they practice these types of game situations. I'd expect better from a 13-year-old. We can't afford to butcher simple opportunities like any team against, let alone against South. Shining light for me is Appy Coruscant. He makes me believe that he's the man who will turn this club around, not management, not the coaches, not the coaches, only our captain. At Penrith, he didn't have to overplay his hand because he was surrounded by a great team. With us, he's trying harder because he has to, and I've never seen a hooker with Arsenal or deception of the dummy half like Coruscant. That's big from Rob, who's mates with Robbie Farah, and obviously old enough to remember Benny Elias as well. We are so lucky to have him along with Buller. We have 2 of the 4 parts right for our spine. Sadly, we won't be avoiding the spoon, but hopefully some committed performance will make any player considering coming to the Tigers more attractive. I don't see any improvement in our style of play. I don't even know what it is. I feel sorry for the players. Thank you, Mr. Bashara. I'm out of breath with that essay that he dropped in the Discord. I mentioned Benny Elias. Then a good podcast I listened to today, James Graham's show. What's it called? Can't think of the top of my head. But Wayne Pearce is his guest this week. And man, I didn't think I could love that man anymore. He's like literally the Messiah to me. But just he is so clever, man. Just even beyond the Balmain stories I'd heard all before. He talks about how they set up the bubble and that sort of thing during COVID, because obviously he's on the board of the NRL. So listening to him speak and his business sense and just how good he is beyond football. He's just such a smart dude. Man, him as CEO of the Wests Tigers would be perfect. Like, he knows how to run and motivate people within a business. It's literally, he's got a business that does that. Man, throw $1 million or something at him to get him away from the NRL board and let him run the Wests Tigers. And I know some of our people from the Magpie side might get annoyed at because he's Balmain. He was our first Wests Tigers coach, but it's nothing to do with him being a Balmain legend. He's just absolute genius when it comes to business sense, and he's seen it and done it all. I don't think he necessarily would be that useful in terms of football staff. I think he literally could be a great CEO, but maybe I'm just biased. But listen to that podcast; he's fantastic, and it's a 2-hour chat with him.
I might have to check it out at some point. But yeah, if he was the CEO of the club or something, we obviously couldn't go much wrong or much worse than we already are. So
yeah.
Yeah, I like that. And just quickly on Rob's 3-2-1 for the girls there. I like his 3 and his 2, Whitfield and Apps. They were definitely the 2 standouts for me. But as for the 1, I think you could have thrown any other number of the girls up there. I would be thinking you could give 1 to Emily Curtin, possibly. It was another strong game by Ebony Pryor. I really liked a lot of Eliza Cialata's work, especially after she came back from her early HIA. And even Lutu from her minimal game time was quite strong. And just to confirm, Kezi Apps is 32.
32. So born.
She turns 33 February next year.
So she's a
91.
91 year older than you.
2 years older than me. Thank you.
2 years. Oh, you're 93, 91, 93.
93.
Great,
yeah.
mass. Forgot about Shane's rant. Shane Coet, our Benji Marshall tier Patreon. He's in the comments too. Saw him before. A good 20 minutes out of 80. Again, not good enough. My question tonight is to our NRLW correspondent. Like I mentioned, I've never taken a real interest in this side of football. I heard in the commentary in the weekend they are a throw together side. I take it then not a lot was expected of them this year. Where do they sit compared to the better sides? Who are the better sides? P.S. Only 32 more sleeps. I don't have to see Brooks and his mate in a West Tigers jersey ever again. Yeah, I mean, throw together not really. I mean, obviously a few players have come in, but the NRL, how much of the Harvey Norman grand final winning side has come through?
Off the top of my head, of the juniors, because obviously Kezi isn't one of our juniors or whatever, but she was a part of that NRLW, not the NRLW, the Women's Telstra Premiership winning team. As for the younger players, like the juniors, the local juniors and stuff, I think maybe about 10, 12 members of the squad were a part of that team.
Yeah.
I think the main issue that people had with our side going into the preseason, like a lot of the expert predictors and stuff like that, were basically saying we're a very inexperienced team when it comes to NRLW. A lot of those juniors hadn't played a game. We had, I think, 7 club debutantes in round 1, and I think out of those 7, 5 of them were NRLW debut as well. I wouldn't say it was a completely thrown together side, but it is a lot of juniors and stuff like that. As for the better sides, the top 3 premiership favourites from a betting standpoint going into the season were the Roosters at number 1, the Broncos at number 2, and the Sharks at number 3, probably because of all the star power they've got. We've come into it a little bit more now in that regard. So we're obviously, some people are starting to take a little bit of more notice of us. I think the Titans as well are going a little bit under the radar with their 2 wins. Obviously, they beat one of the expansion sides in their debut game in the Cowboys in the first round, and they had a really strong golden point win against the Broncos this week. So I think people might be sleeping on the Titans a little bit. I think you might be able to throw us in as a potential smoky for the finals now, but the Knights are the other good team I forgot that is still up there. They're another one of the favourites, being the defending premiers. Yeah, but given the fact that all 4 expansion teams now have a win, the only 2 teams that are winless are the 3-time premiers, the Broncos, and the not really defending, but the last season's grand final runners-up in the Eels. The comp seems to be fairly even, which I think is that's a really, really good sign.
Of course, yeah.
There's a good smattering of the star players across all the teams. You've got teams like the Roosters who, like in the men's, are star power galore. You look at some of the names on their team sheet and you're wondering how they're not 2-0 with a differential of 60. But yeah, it's going to be a good rest of the season. It's a 9-round season, so there's still 7 rounds to go. Every team plays each other once, and it's a top 4 finals. So first will play 4th, second will play 3rd, and the 2 winners of those 2 games will face off.
So it's just one semi.
So it's literally 9 weeks of competition, a semi, and then a grand, or 2 semis, and then a grand final.
So I'm just looking at the bet. The Roosters are still $2.40 favourites to win it. We're $8.50 tied 4th. So
that is quite impressive considering pre-game this week we were $15
We were
Pre-season,
17.
we were
My brother got on us at 17-1 to win it.
Yeah.
So
we were 17 into 15 and now into 850. So I think a lot of people have taken notice after that win.
the Eels are 46.
Yeah,
to
they're in
win.
trouble. They're in deep
Oh.
doo-doo. They might come a little bit good once Rachel Pearson, their halfback, comes back, but they'll still be in trouble, and I think probably a little bit too far away, considering in a 10-team comp to finish in the top 4, you're probably going to need to win 6 games at least, maybe 5, and have a really strong differential. So,
Man, I'm going to lose you to the Daily Telegraph or something. That was brilliant. Well done. Righto, we'll be back on Wednesday night to preview the Raiders doubleheader. So the girls and the guys playing back to back. And so YouTube and Facebook, if you're listening to this on audio after the fact, if you want to join us live, Wednesday, 8:30, there might be cricket and soccer to distract us. The girls are up 3-0, looking pretty good for the I was about to say Socceroos, the Matildas. So, go you girls, go the Aussies in the cricket, and we'll speak to you all on Wednesday. Anything to finish off with, Az, before we say goodnight to Big Dog?
no, that pretty much covers it. Looking forward to previewing a doubleheader. The first one for the girls getting to play before the men. That should be a really good atmosphere for them. The Raiders did a Viking clap for their girls in their first home game last week, so that'll be an awesome atmosphere. Bring it on.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the girls react with an even bigger crowd. So can't wait. Go the girls.
That's it.
Righto, thanks everyone for joining us live. On the YouTube and the Facebook, and love you all as always. Go the Tigers.
Go the Tigers.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the WestsLife Podcast. Please follow us at WestsLife Pod on Instagram and Twitter, and facebook.com/WestsLifePod. You can also support and take part in the show at patreon.com/WestsLife, and give us a subscribe on YouTube and turn notifications on. We'll see you again next time on another episode of the WestsLife Podcast.